Good people, good people, good people. Welcome to another edition of Commanders Wrap, where you get all your relevant Commanders news in 15 minutes. I'm your host, Dr. Wonderful, Doctor of Writing, Professor of English, and avid Commanders fan, joined here by my co-host, Kevin Bayne. We air every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern on YouTube and replay at 10 a.m. on Spotify, Amazon Music, and Audible. How are you doing today, Kevin? How was your week?
I'm doing good. Week was good. Can't complain. How about yourself?
It was a good week. It was a good week. People graduated. I was at graduation, and that's always fun for a teacher to see students graduate. So I
Yeah,
can't
absolutely.
complain. Yeah, it
That's
was a
awesome.
lot of fun. So yay. We're going to jump right into our first segment that we got, Kevin. And this week it kind of started off for with a bang, right? For the Commanders, as reports started to leak a few weeks ago that DC and the Washington Commanders may have been close to a new stadium deal. But news finally broke this week, specifically on Monday, this past Monday, of a $3.7 billion deal between DC and the Commanders to bring the Commanders back home to RFK. Should the Commanders return to DC and the RFK site, this is going to be the largest investment in the city in history in terms of private investment. Uh, this is something that Mayor Muriel Bowser noted in her morning press conference. Additionally, other news that we've got from the Commanders is that they signed kicker Matt Gay to a 1 year, $4.25 million fully guaranteed contract this past Tuesday. And the Commanders also released kicker Zane Gonzalez, who famously doinked us into the divisional round with his field goal in the final seconds of our game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in last year's playoffs. Gay's contract is reportedly the most fully guaranteed money for a kicker on a 1 year deal in history. Kevin, give us your analysis and your reaction to both the stadium news and the signing of kicker Matt Gay.
Yeah. I couldn't be more happier with the news that we're even closer to bringing them back home. For the longest time now, I've been a big advocate of them coming back to DC. And what better place than RFK? There's a lot of names to give credit to getting it to this point. But hats off to Harris, throwing down the majority of the money to get the wheels turning. And honestly, I think that's the biggest difference maker here. I'm hoping it does go all the way through, and yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like you said, I think it's all about the fact that uh, Josh Harris, according to reports, John Kain, the entire stadium is being paid for by the Josh Harris, the ownership group.
Yeah,
So this is about the other stuff that's supposed to surround it, the entertainment, the restaurants, the housing. I refuse to call it affordable yet.
yeah,
Like we'll see that when we believe it, but the taxpayers would be funding the multi-use purpose, and Josh Harris and company would be funding the stadium. We'll see if it gets through, but they did have four council members there. You need seven, but having four or seven ain't so bad,
yeah, yeah.
and the moment just may be right. Politically, emotionally, you've got the right owner. The team did some winning. There's a likable quarterback. The moment may be right. And let's face it, if they don't do it, the Commanders are lost forever to DC.
Yep. Yep.
Like that's just the truth. So certainly I'm with you on that. What about the signing of the kicker, Matt Gay?
Oh boy. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not really bothered too much about giving him the most fully guaranteed money as a kicker, as long as he can back that up. I feel like it's just one of the positions we've been cursed with for so long. Um, Wonderful. I know you and I have discussed it a little bit before, and we weren't opposed to a late round kicker in the draft if Peters and Quinn saw something that caught their eye. Um, I mean, that's the way you think when you've signed your eighth kicker in the last 14 months. I mean, we used four kickers last season alone, 4 or 5, something like that. And they all didn't pan out for one reason or another. We had McManus signed and then let go 2 months later because of the sexual assault allegations, which he was ended up being cleared of. But of course, when you have that issue going on, a lot of times the team's not going to take a chance that they're going to give you the axe. Then started the season off with Cade York, and after he missed 2 field goals in the season opener, he was let go. Uh, then came Austin Seibert. He came in and he played really well for 9 games, but then he went down with an injury. He came back. He struggled big time in that Dallas game. And during that game, he actually not re-injured, he injured a groin. He was put on IR. I think we had Greg Joseph for a game. Zane Gonzalez came in. So, I mean, yeah, the kicker position, it has been a revolving door for us for many, many years. So I pray Matt Gay is the answer. I know he's had some really good seasons in the past. So, yeah, fingers crossed it all works out.
Right. I think that well, special teams is important. Right. That's number one. And I
Yep.
certainly think if, say, the kicker from Miami had fallen to them in the seventh round, I think they really might have taken a chance. I always believed that Washington was going to bring in competition. So reports are this was just about a kicker who was better. I'm really not sure if he was or wasn't, but we'll see. Right. There are a
Yeah.
lot of things about fit and other types of things. We'll just have to see. Adam Peters is always going to look to get better at every position, even if you only seem to be a little bit better. And at the end of the day, we're talking about a field goal kicker. Who cares if they get 4.5 million guaranteed?
Right, exactly. It's not something that's going to kill your cap, right?
It,
Like
no,
it's
that is
not like a
not
what? Yeah,
money.
exactly.
All
Yep,
of those coaches have that in their wallet and discretionary funds.
yep, yep. Hundred
Like,
percent.
so yeah, it's not that big. But we're going to move on to our second segment since we're talking about players and players that we brought in. We didn't get a chance last week, Kevin, to cover our last two draft picks because we spent a lot of time talking about our top three. But we need to spend time talking about our last two draft picks, who in many ways might be the most interesting. Arizona running back Jokori Croksey Merritt and UCLA linebacker Kain Medrano. And expectations for them during minicamp, as training camp comes. What do you think about both of these guys, and where do you hope they might be towards the end of the training camp?
Yeah. I'll start out with the linebacker Kain Medrano. I'm real optimistic with him. It looks like several scouts they all had the same pros and cons. Some of the cons they said are he's a bit undersized and it shows in his play-to-play processes. He can struggle with holding his ground, and his anchor is too weak to consistently rely on. He's had a tendency of drifting into blockers is a big issue for him, getting swallowed up too easily, which affected his tackling. Um, he did kind of have a high missed tackle rate in his collegiate career. With that being said, where he does shine at his coverage, he runs a 4.50 in the 40 and has the ability to cover running backs and tight ends out of the backfield. He can cover a ton of ground, and he wins a lot of straight line races with ball carriers, especially laterally. So I'm thinking if he does end up making the roster, that we can use him as a depth player, or possibly he could be an asset on those third and longs when it's likely a pass is coming by the offense. And so yeah, hopefully he can get into the weight room and put on some more muscle and get a bit better and at shedding blocks and tackling. So we'll see what happens. With Croksey Merritt, so I had never heard of him until we drafted him. And from what I've found out so far, I'm excited to see what he can do for us. They say he needs to work on his second level vision. At times he cuts towards crowds instead of gaining easy yards that are in front of him. And he could work on pass protecting a little bit more. However, he does a lot of things well. Like his first step is incredible and he accelerates well through the handoff. I watched some highlights of him. He's hitting early holes and limiting negative gains. He's very patient. When holes get blocked up, his footwork is good enough to slide through small gaps. When he gets to the holes, he flashes some sharp jump cuts to get to the second level with ease. Uh, don't think he was thrown to a lot out of the backfield in college, but he has shown he can catch if needed to. So yeah, we'll see how it all pans out for him. I'm curious to see how he does in camp.
Same. Here's what I think. The role here is let's see what happens with special teams. What I like about Jalen Lane is he's already talking about punt returning like he's
Yep.
excited about it.
Yep.
I don't think even as great as Austin Eckler was off kickoff returns for us. I would like to think that if they can find someone who can do that job more than adequately, and leave Austin on the offensive side, that they would like that. A guy like Jokori, maybe he can do that. And
Yep.
again, there's a spot for both of them.
Yep.
With only 5 spots in the draft, it seems to me that AP looked for people who he feels like can contribute. So I really wouldn't be surprised if both of these guys wind up being on the active roster, not practice squad,
Right. Right.
on the active roster. They're gonna have to
Yep.
compete. They're gonna have to make it. There's Dominic Hampton. There's Jordan McGee. There's last year's draft picks, but I would still be relatively surprised if both of them didn't make that final roster. But we'll see, right, Kevin?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's fun. And Rookie Minicamp is coming up upon us. We get our first delve into it this week on Thursday. Rookie Minicamp is going to be Thursday the 8th, Friday the 9th, and Saturday the 10th. But media is only going to be available on Thursday the 9th. So we'll be sure to get you recapped on that and give you our expectations for what we want in the upcoming veteran minicamp. That'll be happening 2 weeks later, and we'll tell you our thoughts from the rookie minicamp that just wrapped up. I'm Dr. Wonderful, Doctor of Writing, Professor of English, and avid Commanders fan, here with my co host Kevin Bayne, and this has been your weekly edition of Commanders Wrap, where you get all your relevant Commanders news in 15 minutes.